this next chapter that we're going to read, I would say make this a personal standard of yours, because nothing happens without it. And the chapter is chapter 10, get the action habit. Here's something leaders in every field agree on. There is a shortage of top-flight, expertly qualified persons to fill key positions. There really is, as the saying goes, plenty of room at the top. As one executive explained, there are many almost qualified people, but there is one success ingredient often missing. That is the ability to get things done, to get results. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day about productivity in employees, and they said they're happy as long as the employee does about 60% of what they can do. And I get that understanding and I get that thinking, but I just want to think too that why don't people want to strive? Why don't they want to get more done and be really productive throughout the day? I suppose I don't really get that. If you can explain it to me, please do. But why don't people want to put in the work? Interesting. Anyway, and they're the types of people that I like to employ, the people that get in, get the work done, and have more leisure time. I believe that you have way more leisure time when you just get in and win the morning. You are responsible for everything that comes into your life. So if you don't take responsibility for the things that maybe aren't turning up, how can you take the win? That's just my thinking. So I have a plan to win the morning. Sometimes it doesn't work out quite that way. However, I'll win the day. So yeah, be an action taker maybe. But you've got to get your energy right before you take action sometimes. Otherwise, the action can make you feel like it's pointless. Anyway, every big job, whether it be operating a business, high-level selling, in science, the military, or the government, requires a man who thinks action. Principal executives look for a key person, demand answers to questions like, will he do the job? Will he follow through? Is he a self-starter? Can he get results, or is he just a talker? All these questions have one aim, to find out if the fellow is a man of action. Excellent ideas are not enough. Only fair idea acted upon and developed is 100% better than a terrific idea that dies because it isn't followed up. The great self-made merchant John Wanamaker often said, nothing comes merely by thinking about it. Think of it. Everything we have in this world, from satellites to skyscrapers to baby food, is just an idea acted upon. As you study people, both the successful and the just average, you find they fall into two classes. The successful are active, we'll call them activationists. The just average, the mediocre, the unsuccessful, are passive. We'll call them passivationists. We can discover a success principle by studying both groups. Mr. Activationist is a doer. He takes action, gets things done, follows through on ideas and plans. Mr. Passivationist is a don'ter. He postpones doing things until he has proved he shouldn't or can't do them, or until it's too late. The difference between Mr. Activationist and Mr. Passivationist shows through in countless little ways. Mr. Activationist plans a vacation. He takes it. Mr. Passivationist plans a vacation, but he postpones it until next year. Mr. A decides he should attend church regularly. He does. Mr. P thinks it's a good idea to go to church regularly too, but he finds ways to postpone acquiring this new habit. Mr. A feels that he should drop a note to someone he knows to congratulate him on some achievements. He writes a note. Under the same circumstances, Mr. P finds good reason to put off writing the note, and it never gets written. The difference shows up in big things too. Mr. A wants to go into business for himself. He does. Mr. P also wants to go into business for himself, but he discovers just in the nick of time a good reason why he had better not. Mr. A, ages 40, decides he wants to take up a new line of work. He does. The same idea occurs to Mr. P, but he debates himself out of doing anything about it. The difference between Mrs. Activationist and Passivationist shows through in all forms of behaviour. Mr. A gets things done he wants done, and as byproducts he gains confidence, a feeling of inner security, self-reliance, and more income. Mr. P doesn't get things done. He doesn't get things done he wants because he won't act. As byproducts, he loses confidence in himself, destroys his self-reliance, lives in mediocrity. Mr. Activationist does, Mr. Passivationist is going to do, but doesn't. Everyone wants to be an activationist. So let's get the action habit. A lot of passivationists got that way because they insisted on waiting until everything was 100% favorable before they took action. Perfection is highly desirable, but nothing man-made or man-designed is or can be absolutely perfect. So to wait for the perfect set of conditions is to wait forever. Below are three case histories that show how three persons reacted to conditions. Case number 1, why GN hasn't married. Mr. GN is now in his late 30s, is well educated, works as an accountant and lives alone in Chicago. GN's big desire is to get married. He wants love, companionship, a home, children, the works. GN has been close to marriage once. He was only 1 day away, but each time he has been near marriage, he discovers something wrong with the girl he's about to marry. Just in time, before I made an awful mistake. One instance stands out. 2 years ago, GN thought he finally had met just the right girl. She was attractive, pleasant, intelligent, but GN had to be absolutely sure that marriage was the right thing. As they were discussing marriage plans one evening, the future Mrs. GN made a few remarks that bothered GN. So to make certain he was marrying the right girl, GN drew up a 4-page document of stipulations she was to agree to before they got married. The document, neatly typed and looking very legal, covered every segment of living GN could think of. There was one section on religion, what church they would go to, how often they would attend, how much they would donate. Another section covered children, how many and when. In detail, GN outlined the kind of friends they would have, his future wife's employment status, where they would live, how their income would be spent. To finish the document, GN devoted half a page to listing specific habits the girl must break or must acquire. This covered such habits as smoking, drinking, makeup, entertainment, and so on. When GN's prospective bride viewed his ultimatum, she did what you would expect. She sent it back with a note saying the usual marriage clause, for better or for worse, is good enough for everyone else and it's good enough for me. The whole thing is off. As GN was relating his experience to me, he said worriedly, now, what was so wrong in writing out this agreement? After all, marriage is a big step. You can't be too careful. But GN was wrong. You can be too careful, too cautious, not only in planning a marriage, but in planning anything in the world where things get done. The standards can be too high. GN's approach to marriage was very much like his approach to his work, his savings, his friendships, everything else. The test of a successful person is not in an ability to eliminate all problems before they arise, but to meet and work out difficulties when they do arise. We must be willing to make an intelligent compromise with perfection, lest we wait forever before taking action. It's still good advice to cross bridges as we come to them. Case number 2, why JM lives in a new home. In every big decision, the mind battles with itself, to act or not to act, to be or to do or not to do. Here's one young fellow elected to act and reaped big rewards. JM's situation is similar to that of a million other young men. He is in his 20s, has a wife and a child, and still has only a modest income. Mr. and Mrs. JM lived in a small apartment. Both wanted a new home. They wanted the advantage of more space, cleaner surroundings, a place for the a place for the youngster to play, and a chance to build up equity in their own property. But there was a hitch to buying a new home: the down payment. One day, as JM was writing next month's rent check, he became very disgusted with himself. He observed that the rent payment was as much as monthly payments on a new home. JM called his wife and said, "How would you like to buy a new home next week?" "What's got into you?" she asked. "Why make jokes? You know we can't. We haven't even got the money for a down payment." But JM was determined. There are hundreds of thousands of couples like us who are going to buy a new home someday, but only about half of them ever do. Something always comes up to stop them. We're going to buy a home. I don't know yet how we'll raise the down payment, but we will. Well, the next week they found a house they both liked, quite unpretentious but nice, for $1,200 down. Now the obstacle was to find a way to raise the $1,200. JM knew he couldn't borrow it through the usual channels, for this would encumber his credit, so that he couldn't get a mortgage for the sale price. Where there's a will, there's always a way. Suddenly JM got a brainstorm. Why not contact the builder and work out a private loan arrangement for the $1,200? This JM did. At first, the builder was cold to the idea, but JM persisted. Finally, it was agreed. The builder would, in effect, advance JM the $1,200 to be repaid at $100 a month plus interest. Now, all JM had to do was find $100 a month. Mr. and Mrs. JM sharpened their pencils and figured out a way to cut expenditures $25 a month, but that still left $75, which JM would have to raise each month. Then JM got another idea. The next morning he went in to see his boss. He explained to his employer what he was doing. His boss was glad to learn that JM was going to buy a new home. Then JM said, "Look, Mr. T, to work this deal out, I've got to earn at least $75 more a month. Now I know," JM continued, "you'll give me a raise when you feel that I deserve it. What I want to know is just a chance to earn more money. There are some things around here that could best be done on weekends. Will you make it possible for me to work then?" The employer was impressed by JM's sincerity and ambition. He proposed a way for JM to work 10 extra hours each weekend, and Mr. and Mrs. JM moved into their home. The resolution to take action ignited JM's mind to think of ways to accomplish his goals. JM gained tremendously in new confidence. It will be much easier for him to take action in other major situations. And 3, JM provided his wife and child the living standard they deserved. Had he waited, postponed buying the house until conditions were perfect, there is a real possibility they never would have owned a home of their own. Well, let's just do this last one. Case number 3. CD wants to start his own business, but Mr. CD represents another case of what happens to big ideas when one waits until conditions are perfect before taking action on those ideas. Shortly after World War II, CD got a job with the Customs Division of the U.S. Post Office Department. He liked his work, but after 5 years he became dissatisfied with the confinement, regular hours, low pay, and the seniority system with its relatively narrow chances for advancement. Then he got an idea. He had learned a great deal about what it takes to be a successful importer. Why not set himself up in the business of importing low-cost gift items and toys? CD knew many successful importers who didn't have his knowledge of the ins and outs of this business. It's been 10 years now since CD decided he wanted to go into business for himself, but today he's still working for the Customs Office. Why? Well, every time CD was just about ready to cut loose on his own, something happened that stopped him from taking action. Lack of money, economic recession, new baby, need for temporary security, trade restrictions, and more excuses all served as reasons for waiting, for postponing. The real truth is that CD let himself develop into a passivationist. He wanted conditions to be perfect before he took action. Since conditions were never perfect, CD never took action. Here are 2 things to do to help you avoid the costly mistake of waiting until conditions are perfect before you act. Number 1, expect future obstacles and difficulties. Every venture presents risks, problems, and uncertainties. Let's suppose you want to drive your car from Chicago to Los Angeles, but you insisted on waiting until you had absolute assurance that there would be no detours, no motor trouble, no bad weather, no drunken drivers, no risk of any kind. When would you start? Never. In planning your trip to Los Angeles, it makes sense to map your route. Check your car in other ways to eliminate as much risk as possible before you start, but you can't eliminate all risk. Number 2, meet problems and obstacles as they arise. The test of the successful person is not the ability to eliminate all problems before he takes action, but rather the ability to find solutions to difficulties when he encounters them. In business, marriage, or in any activity, cross bridges when you come to them. And I will leave it there. We'll finish this one a bit more tomorrow. But really start to think about that you are responsible for everything that happens in your life. And if you're not liking what is coming in, ask yourself, where is my thinking going throughout the day? What am I conscious of throughout the day? Am I looking for the obstacles or am I looking for the solution? A lot of people are so obstacle obsessed that they don't even spend time looking for the solution. And I heard somebody say this morning on one of my calls was monetize the solution. So if you've got a problem, figure out a way that you can make money by overcoming it. Isn't that a cool thing? Might take that one on myself. All right, remember, take responsibility. Everything is happening for you to either gain clarity on what you want, to see how far you've come, or to give you something to be grateful for. Grateful for your ability to think, because that's the one thing that we can all do. We can all think for ourselves, and we can think differently than we have before, and then we will get different results. All right, enjoy your day. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.